On to the press review. Traditional style press review today, but we're starting with some sad news. One of America's greatest writers, the Pulitzer Prize-winning Cormac McCarthy, has passed away at the age of 89. His death is garnering a lot of attention in the press, and Dipsy's going to take us through it.
Well, the reclusive Cormac McCarthy was the literary mind behind works like The Road and No Country for Old Men, the latter of which was actually adopted by the Coen brothers into an Oscar-winning film. So this is just a cartoon, a tribute being paid to the author who died at the age of 89. For the Washington Post, McCarthy really distinguished himself. They say in this article he was a spare and haunting novelist with an idiosyncratic prose style, stripping his sentences of punctuation, limiting commas, and using obscure words. Thematically, his works were lyrical and often brutally violent, taking us from the backwoods of Tennessee to the desolation of a post-apocalyptic world. His style even earned him comparisons to James Joyce and William Shakespeare. Now, like many writers, he also struggled to break out initially. That's what this culture magazine Far Out writes in its sort of obituary. His earlier work was a commercial flop, they say, and he actually struggled to make a living as a writer for decades until 1992, when he finally earned literary praise for All the Pretty Horses, which was a sort of grand love story across the wild, wild West. And his dedication to his craft was such that in one of his interviews with the Wall Street Journal, he described his perfect day as sitting in a room with blank paper. The Guardian has actually compiled some of his most memorable quotes over the years. You can check it out, Stuart.
Yeah, the death there of Cormac McCarthy. Now, Lebanese lawmakers, they're convening today to once again try to find a new president, this after 8 months of being leaderless.
Well, parliamentary rival camps are convening a new session today, Stuart. It is the 12th such attempt to find someone who will actually take over leadership of the country, someone who can forge a consensus among all the different parties that exist in Lebanon. Jihad Azor and Hezbollah candidate Suleiman Frangia are the two candidates with the most votes, according to this current affairs website, The National Interest. They actually have a very good summary of the political situation in Lebanon right now. Now, as we said, Azur is seen as one of the favorites, mostly thanks to his financial prowess. He previously worked at the International Monetary Fund. He was also a former finance minister, and of course, solving Lebanon's economic woes will be really one of the big challenges facing the next leader of Lebanon. However, will there actually be any advancement on the leadership deadlock? Well, at least according to this Hezbollah, pro-Hezbollah a paper called Al-Aqba, they're pretty doubtful, even skeptical. On their front page here, they say emptiness, and you see the sort of empty ballot box there. So a bit of skepticism from that paper there.
Bit of celebrity news now. Vanity Fair has published a very detailed article. It takes us inside the wine-centric relationship between Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and why it all went rather sour in the end.
That's right, Vanity Fair. Well, you know, the couple were one of the most sort of high-profile couples of the mid-2000s, culminating, of course, with their purchase of Chateau Miraval, a French vineyard where they built their family, they built their wine empire, far away from the prying eyes of the paparazzi. It also was ultimately led to the couple splitting up. Jolie pitted against, well, Brad Pitt in a contentious custody battle involving accusations of abuse. They may not be living la vie en rosé now, Stuart, but Pitt's vineyard is very profitable. It's also seen as being partly responsible for giving more credibility and popularity to rosé wine in the US.
Vie en rosé, very good, Dipsy. Finally then, artificial intelligence. Brian was talking about it a second ago. Dipsy's going to talk about it as well. It was hoped at least would prove useful for doing the administrative grunt work of medical professionals, but it's proven useful in more surprising ways as well.
Yeah, this article from the New York Times is actually really interesting. It talks about how when OpenAI rolled out their free version of ChatGPT last year, they assumed the chatbot would help doctors with their administrative duties, which often takes up a lot of time away from patient diagnoses. What happened, though, was that many doctors were actually turning to ChatGPT to help improve their bedside manner. Not a surprise, given that in one study, 85% of respondents said doctors' bedside manner was more important than wait times or cost of consultations. And doctors, of course, are notorious for really lacking empathy. And it turns out that they actually don't know how to be empathetic because many of them turn to ChatGPT, in one case, for instance, to write compassionate replies for their staff to answer patient queries. That was the case of a rheumatologist. In another case, it helped a doctor break bad news to a patient. The doctor had actually asked ChatGPT how to break bad news to a patient. And actually, ChatGPT then even queried about the doctor's well-being after having broken that bad news. So the next time your doctor is unusually sympathetic, it might actually be thanks to AI and not just because your doctor is actually an empathetic doctor.
Yes, who knows? Who knows whether it's real or just AI generated? I think we need to do an AI generated press review one day and see how that goes down. Replace
Well,
Dipty.
that'll probably be the end of me then, Stuart.
Oh no, never Dipty, you're with us for life. Dipty Laurel with the papers on France 24.